my baby bulls out there, I am your goddess Nazca, here with your requested videos. If you do not see your video in today's stream, it will probably be in one of the next day's streams. My brainer do kind of died, and I don't remember who gave me what videos. So I am apologizing. Just know, yeah. The smooches, this coast here is a heck of a storm. Sheesh. Be careful out there. Alright, so we are watching The Man Who Killed Halloween. Ooh, sounds interesting. I can't remember who gave me this.
After returning home from a night out trick-or-treating, 8-year-old Timothy O'Brien was killed. No one knew who had done it or why, but they did know how, through one seemingly innocent piece of candy. That Halloween, the entire community...
I think this was maybe referenced in this one Halloween movie. Fuck, I can't remember what the name of the movie, but it had the one kid who had the lollipop and he kills people. But yeah, I think this might have been referenced in that movie where someone was poisoning Halloween candy, or maybe razor blades. It's either poison or razor blades.
The community was gripped by terror. Parents were convinced that the legend had come true. A madman was poisoning candy, and any of their children could be next. Unfortunately, they were right. For months, someone had been planning the perfect crime through exploiting one of America's deepest fears. Detectives would have to race against time to find the other children who received the killer's candy before it was too late. This is the true story behind the Candyman, the legend that...
Yeah, it's these pixie sticks. Yeah, the pixie sticks would be very easy to put poison in because it's such a... probably an easy way to open the packing, and then since it's a powder substance, yeah, you could crush up anything and put it in there and probably look the same. Ugh.
Has fueled the Halloween candy panic for decades. But it's not the tale you think it is. The detectives arrived at the hospital that night to interview Timothy's father, Ronald Clark O'Brien, and obtain his account of what happened. Given Halloween's most famous tradition, their top priority was identifying and preventing any more children from falling victim to the same fate. Ronald was an optician and a highly respected church deacon, a volunteer that helped the local pastor in organizing community events. To the locals...
Yeah, that's something that I noticed nowadays. Like, there's not much Halloween anymore. No one really goes out trick-or-treating anymore and all that jazz. I think for the most part, for kids... Hold on, I'm opening a thing. I want a snack. Yeah. For kids, I think they do, trunk or treat now? With, like, churches and stuff that do that. Maybe schools. But, yeah, I don't think trick-or-treating really exists much anymore.
He was a pillar of the community, singing in the choir and running the church bus program. Everyone was devastated to hear about his loss. He had taken his son and daughter trick-or-treating to the neighboring city of Pasadena, only a few minutes' drive, to join his friend, Jim Bates, and his 2 children. But because of the ongoing rain, they decided to stick to only 2 streets in Jim's neighborhood, Dunrail and Citation Street. After hitting a streak of houses handing out plenty of candy, the group arrived at a home with no lights on. They knocked anyway and waited for an answer. As the rain worsened, the children grew impatient and ran ahead to the next house. But Ronald's...
Yeah, that's trick-or-treating 101. If someone doesn't have lights on or any decorations, you don't bother them. The candy is also expensive nowadays. You might as well just buy the candy the day after. Yeah, true, where you get the, like, half-off prices. It's still done in Maine. I mean, yeah, trick-or-treating does happen. I'm just saying most people don't do it anymore. Like, obviously, it happens around my neighborhood and stuff, too, but it's just been less and less people going out and doing it. Is what I'm saying.
Stayed behind, waiting to see if anyone would answer the door. Someone finally did. The lights in the house never turned on, but the door
You
opened
dig
a
up
crack, just
one
enough
head
for a
to bed.
hairy
Okay,
man's
night,
arm
night,
to
iron,
reach
iron
through
duck.
and hand Ronald 5 giant pixie sticks for the children. Then, the door was closed without a word. Ronald told detectives he had no idea who the man was. He never heard his voice or saw anything but that arm. Ronald caught up with the children to hand out the candy. 1 pixie stick to each of his 2 children, and 2 to his neighbor's children. On the way home, he gave the 5th pixie stick to a 10-year-old boy he recognized from his church. That was the end
Oh,
of the
dang.
trick-or-treating for the night. When they returned to their home in Deer Park, Timothy asked if he could eat some candy before bed. His parents both agreed, allowing him to choose just one. Timothy chose the pixie stick, the biggest of...
Yeah, Pixie Stick's definitely low tier candy because it's just a tube with sugar. Who wants to eat just pure sugar?
the candy they had collected that night. But Timothy struggled to get the sweet, colorful powder out of the tube. The packet was closed by a staple, and Timothy's fingers were too small to open it. So Ronald stepped in to help. Once the first drops of powder hit his tongue, Timothy had an instant reaction.
Oh,
The powder
dang.
was bitter and unpleasant, not the taste of pure sugar he had expected. He didn't want to eat any more of it, and complained about how gross it was to his dad, who gave him some Kool-Aid to wash the taste away. But unfortunately, no amount of Kool-Aid was going to wash away what was now inside his stomach. Timothy began to experience abdominal pain that grew stronger with every passing minute. As the seriousness of the situation became more evident, his father realized there must be something wrong with that candy, and remembered he had given one of those to his daughter, and rushed to check on her. He was relieved to find that she hadn't eaten the pixie stick yet. Shortly after his father had left the bedroom, Timothy jumped up and rushed to the bathroom. As Ronald recounted the timeline of that evening's tragic events, he sobbed. 30 seconds after I left Tim's room, I heard him cry to me, "Daddy, Daddy, my stomach hurts." He was in the bathroom, convulsing, vomiting, and gasping, and then suddenly, he went limp. Timothy's
Oh, what kind of... This was definitely a fast-acting poison, that's for sure. I'm trying to think what is the substance that makes you have abdominal pains, vomiting, and something like that. I wonder... I hope they explain what the drug was, or poison, or... Like, just... Could it be, like, just pure rat poison or something? I'm not sure.
parents called 911 and rushed their 8-year-old son to the hospital.
But there's nothing they could
Timothy
do.
tragically died en route, less than an hour after he first tasted the pixie stick. The news quickly got around the local community, with neighbors and churchgoers reaching out to offer condolences, but they were also caught up in their own concerns. For decades, parents and their children had been warned about poisoned trick-or-treat candy, and now it had happened to one of their own. Stories of the poisoned candy had existed in American society for a long time. Before the Industrial Revolution, families would produce their own candy using recipes handed down through the generations. But by the
Yeah, it just nowadays, like, especially when it comes to anything food related, you need like a license to sell anything food related, and homemade stuff is very much frowned upon because everyone's so paranoid that you could be a psychopath like this and poison the food. Because, yeah, that's just... I don't know what kind of person you have to be mentally to think, oh, I'm going to put poison in candy and give it to kids. Just, that is some psychopathic shit right there. That is the most psychopathic shit ever. Because it's one thing that when you're a murderer and you're doing the act and stuff and you just, like, I mean, you don't even see the person. This is just... I don't understand this at all. It just, no, it's horrible. This person needs to... I hope the end result is they were able to find the person. I hope there was an end result to this. Yeah, my folks would always check the candy and snacks, just in case. But how do you check something like a pixie stick? You know? It's really easy to reseal that, so you couldn't tell if it was ever broken or not. And like the kid said, it tasted bad. Like, as soon as he had the smallest taste of it, he was already screwed, it seemed like. Because, like, if it was me, I would have instantly, as soon as I tasted it was off, I would have spit that out and thrown it away. But apparently, just the smallest amount is what killed this kid. So, yeah.
1990s, food production was moving out of the home and into factories far away. Strangers were adding
Don't eat
unknown
pixie
ingredients,
sticks.
using strange new chemicals, giving birth to an entirely new paranoia, amplified by doctors publicly claiming that they were treating children poisoned by candy every single day. A famous incident occurred in 1959. Dr. William Shine, a professional dentist, distributed 450 candy-coated laxative pills to children on Halloween, giving some
Okay, that could actually be kind of funny. That kind of seems kind of pranky, but at the same time, you can die from something like that. Especially, I wouldn't give that to children. I mean, that is a good prank, but not for children.
30 tablets
Let's go.
instead of the
Hi,
typical
feeble
adult
mind.
dose of 2. At least 30 children fell ill with violent stomach problems. Luckily, none of them died or needed emergency treatment.
Yeah,
Still,
that's good.
Dr. Shine was arrested quickly, having his dental license revoked. Well, temporarily. Just 2 years later, he was back.
Yeah, I'm gonna drug kids with laxatives. I'm gonna get my dentist license revoked because of that, but only temporarily. Wait, where is the jail time? I feel like there should have been jail time for that. How are you doing? We're doing great. Just got done opening some boxes, and now we're doing some fan-suggested videos. Yeah.
To treating patients. Although the repercussions he faced were short-term, his actions birthed the modern candy tampering legend that would grow for many years to come. In 1964, Helen Feel, a 47-year-old New York housewife, had special packages for teenagers she considered to be too old for trick-or-treating. When the children took their packages home, they eagerly unwrapped them to discover that they contained arsenic-laced ant baits, steel wool scrubbing pads, and dog biscuits. Nobody died, but it still added fuel.
You're too old to be trick-or-treating. You get trash. You treat it like a dog. Eat the dog biscuit. Oh, no. I have to out myself. My cousin and I went out trick-or-treating, I think like 2 years ago, just for the heffel of it. Even though we're old, but I just wanted to put a smile on my cousin's face because she is mentally handicapped. So she's kind of, how do I explain? I don't know exactly what it's called, what she has, but she has kind of like the mind of a child. So that's why I was like, yeah, let's just go out trick-or-treating. It'd be fine because we had like all the cosplay stuff. And yeah, we had a really good time walking around and junk. For the most part, no one bothered us because I guess we still look young enough. And maybe the costumes kind of helped. But yeah, just something fun I wanted to do with her.
To the nationwide anxiety. Throughout the rest of the 60s, more stories began to circulate, coming out of Canada, New Jersey, and Virginia, all of them sharing a new danger, razor blades. In 1967
heard
alone,
of this.
there were at least 9 cases reported across North America, each one displaying the same pattern. Candy with razor...
Okay, for one though, who gives a child an apple for candy? No one's gonna eat that. Also, I feel like this would be noticeable. How do you conceal a razor blade in an apple? Because you will be able to see that little cut line. I can't fathom how this works.
razor blades neatly inserted inside candies, especially apples. Every Halloween, families across America
Apple's not a
retell
candy.
these stories to their children, warning them about the dangers of trick-or-treating. But for Jim Bates, Ronald's friend who had gone trick-or-treating with Timothy and his family, the warning was suddenly very, very real. Jim had gone to work after the All Hallows Eve walk around the neighborhood, but had his night shift cut short by a call from his wife. Timothy was dead, and their daughter was also feeling increasingly unwell. Jim
Uh-oh.
raced home at 115 miles an hour, believing that their candy had been spiked. But when he got home, he discovered both his children hadn't eaten the pixie sticks.
Huh?
His wife had just cleaned the house, and if any of the powder fell on the carpet, she didn't want to take out the vacuum a second time, so she placed them on the counter, and they were still there when he arrived home. Had his daughter eaten other poisoned candy and gotten ill? Luckily, no. Turns out, she only had an unrelated headache and was fine.
Okay. So wait, that's a little off right there. He said that neither of his children ate the pixie sticks, but it just said earlier in the video that that's the whole reason why the son's hospitalized is because he ate the pixie stick. So I think that was maybe a little Miss Moogie there, but yeah. It depends on how you slide the razor in. I'm trying to think. I mean, I know apples have, like, grooves and stuff, but I still feel like someone would be able to notice that little slicey. I feel like that would be noticeable. Unless it's, like, super, super tiny. I'm not sure how tiny a razor blade could be. Let's see, I'm looking. It's gotta be really a tiny-ass razor blade. I mean, looking at this box cutter right here. I mean, that's kind of small. Okay, so it'd be like really small, but that would still do a lot of damage, especially if you accidentally swallow that. Kind of like that one episode of The Simpsons where Bart swallows a little sharp doody-doo, and then it messes up his stomach and he had to get like a surgery done and junk. Caramel apple. Yeah, caramel apple. But still, I don't feel like... if the candy's not wrapped, I'm not gonna touch it.
While panic spread across Deer Park in Pasadena, thousands of
Stick it through
parents
the
brought their
bottom.
children's entire
No.
trick-or-treat hauls to police stations, fearing it might be laced
oh.
with poison. Their
Wait. If you stick the razor blade through the bottom of the apple, that's gonna go into the core. No one eats the core. It'd have to be in the meaty area of the apple that you would bite into. Apples are candy for health nuts. Okay, of course caramel apples are really good. I do really like caramel apples.
Children were devastated, but the stories of razor blades and arsenic were too familiar to ignore. Meanwhile, the Pasadena Police
arsenic,
Department had
that's
no
what it
leads or
is.
suspects. The only logical conclusion, although
Really?
speculative, was that one
Why would you eat the core of an apple? It's got the seeds. And I'm pretty sure I heard somewhere if you eat seeds of an apple, they have like small amounts of, what is it? Some kind of poison. I can't remember what it's called. Cyanide or... Whatever. I heard that apple seeds are supposed to be poisonous. Why would you eat the core? No. That's weird.
of the locals in the community had intentionally given out poisoned candy to kill as many children as possible. But who and why remained a complete
I eat it
mystery.
sometimes,
The
not all
police
the time.
forwarded the information to a Harris County prosecutor looking to start an official investigation into the death of 8-year-old Timothy. Next, the prosecutor called the chief medical examiner, explaining the situation as he understood it. A young boy had tragically lost his life after eating some candy. The examiner had only one question: what did his breath smell like? At first, this may have seemed like a strange question, but the morgue had already identified an unusual,
find a trash
distinct,
can
and
to,
hard to
throw it
ignore
away.
scent
I'll just
emanating
eat
from
it.
Timothy's remains. Almond. That tiny piece of information was all the chief medical examiner needed. Timothy had been poisoned with cyanide. Timothy's autopsy later confirmed that he had indeed been poisoned with cyanide, but it also
Okay, I'm guessing cyanide is a powdered-based poison, so it probably was really easy to mask it with the sugar in the pixie stick. You start from the bottom of the apple. One can eat it without waste. I always eat, okay, let's get each an apple from the middle, and then I kind of, just kind of eat it all the way around, and then I start going at the top, and eat chomp, and then I go at the bottom, chomp, then I get the rest of the white, meaty bits, and chomp, until there's nothing left but the little core bits, and then I throw that stuff away. Yeah, that's how Nesca eats an apple. Of course, my friend did the weirdest thing. I offered him an orange one day, and he fucking ate the orange like an apple with the peel and everything. I'm like, how are you doing that? I thought that was so weird.
Also revealed how extensive the poisoning had been. Timothy had consumed enough cyanide to kill 2 fully grown adults.
Damn.
Whoever had spiked the candy had only one intended outcome in mind.
Okay, kid, once you taste the bitterness and once the sugar tastes bad, I wouldn't have continued eating it. I would have spit it out and thrown it away. No, yeah, even at the age of 8, yeah, it'd be like back when I was 4 and I took a drink of my dad's beer one time. I didn't continue drinking that shit, I spit it out. Oh, some do eat oranges with a peel like an apple or tomato. I think that's so weird though. Why not deep fry apple? Oh, I hate hot fruit. I don't like hot fruit. That's why I can't eat pineapple on pizza. It's just what annoys me about pineapple on pizza is hot pineapple. That tastes weird to me. I don't like it.
This was terrible news for the authorities, because if Timothy's pixie stick had been spiked, then, logically, the other 4 sticks were also full of poison.
No apple pie?
But currently, the investigators didn't have those sticks, and even worse, there was no telling how many other trick-or-treaters that night had been given the same cyanide-laced sticks. All they knew is that at any moment, another child might die. With the lives of an entire neighborhood of children at stake, the officers rushed from door to door throughout the neighborhood, asking every local resident if they had received or handed out pixie sticks to trick-or-treaters.
Yeah, but someone could easily lie about that just because you ask them. Personally, okay, I'm guessing, the father didn't know that the poisoning came from the pixie sticks specifically, so he couldn't point it out, so he didn't know that. Otherwise, personally, I think inform the father what the child died of and ask him if he can remember what house it was that gave him the pixie stick. I think that would be your best lead to finding the guy.
The answer to both questions was a clear no from every single person on those 2 streets.
Of course.
Of course, there was no way of knowing whether anybody was telling the truth.
Exactly.
However,
I just said that.
They did at least recover 4 of the known sticks from the homes of Timothy and his neighbor. The 5th was still unaccounted for. Ronald recalled handing it to the boy from their church. When investigators entered the boy's home, they were overcome with a strange mix of horror and relief. The boy asleep in his bed, clutching the unopened pixie stick. Like Timothy, he had tried to open the candy, but his small fingers couldn't remove the staples keeping it tightly closed. This failure saved his life.
Saved by God right there. That was just wow. Oh my goodness. Does he eat lots of warheads and have grave tongue? Who, my friend? I don't know. I don't know all the details about him.
All 5 of the pixie sticks tubes looked identical. The top, originally heat-sealed by the manufacturer, had been carefully cut open, and the first 2 inches of sugar poured out and replaced with granules of potassium cyanide, before being resealed with staples. Every tube contained unimaginable quantities of cyanide.
Wait. Especially if he put the cyanide in the stick, shook it up a bit, but not too much. Most of the poison's on the bottom. I don't know if cyanide's poison could somehow contaminate the sugar too. The kid probably ate it from the end where it was most sugar tasting, and then as he was eating it, he was getting small doses of the cyanide, not noticing, and then when he got towards the end of the pixie stick is when it really started tasting like poison. But by that time, it was already too late because he was eating the sugar part first that was slightly mixed. That's how. Okay, they said it was one of those big tubes, too. Oh, those big tubes of pixie. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That all lines up how he died. How there was no going back.
Timothy's dose, which was enough to kill 2 adult humans, was the weakest of all 5. The other
Whoa.
4 contained enough to kill 3 to 4 adults each. With the cause of death confirmed, authorities now had to zero in on which house gave out the candy. Every person in the neighborhood insisted they had not given out or received any pixie sticks. Only one person had met the man who handed out the candy.
The
Timothy's
father.
Ronald.
Yeah.
The officers requested his help, bringing him with them to canvass the neighborhood and identify the culprit's
Get
home.
justice for
They
your
would
son.
retrace the group's steps exactly as it happened, going from house to house, giving them a full reenactment of that night. In the days following the death of his son, the community had rallied around Ronald and the rest of the family as they planned and held the funeral for their beloved child. Detectives knew that the stress of the situation would make it hard for Ronald to focus, and retracing the steps like this could trigger an emotional response. But when they got out on the streets with him, they were surprised by how confused he was. Ronald couldn't remember which house he got the sticks from, even though they had only visited 2 streets in the neighborhood within a short space of time. His
That's
memory
strange.
was failing him when it mattered most. After walking the entire neighborhood,
I hate when that happens, when you're trying to remember something that's super important and it just won't come to you. That is the worst feeling ever. Sheesh. But yeah, it's nighttime too, so it's dark, and they did say it was rainy, so that could obstruct the memory.
investigators had nothing to go on. They decided the best solution was to cut the search short, give Ronald some time, and start again a few days later. But on their second trip, his memory was no better and produced the same result. Nothing. On the third walk, the police, now frustrated, started being firm with him, stressing the importance of sharing anything he could remember. Children's lives were at stake. If he couldn't remember anything at all, the killer might walk, free to strike again in some other sinister way. Ronald went through his mind one more time, recalling the story he had told investigators.
You know, this picture does kind of look like the one guy from that Halloween movie. I've never seen this video before. I feel like I might have heard this story before, but I'm not 100% sure. And if perhaps that one Halloween movie is based off of this, if the outcome turns out that the father is the one who was doing the poisoning, I'm gonna be surprised, but also be like I knew it.
Years earlier about the house with the lights out and the man's hairy arm that handed him the pixie sticks. Suddenly, it all came flooding back. Ronald pointed to the exact house.
Okay,
Authorities
cool. It's
knocked
not
at the
that.
door, and just like on Halloween night, there was no answer. But this time, no matter how long they waited or how many times they knocked, the door never opened. Within an hour, they had a complete record of the homeowner, Courtney Melvin, identifying him as an air traffic controller at the William P. Hobby Airport. He was married with a daughter. This was their one and only suspect. A group of police officers raced to the airport.
Okay, yeah, that is even more sick. You're a married man, you have your own kid. What the fuck is wrong with your mind that you feel the need to poison other kids? Just why?
Tracking the man down during his work shift, in front of his coworkers and friends, the authorities announced that he was under arrest on suspicion of murdering a child and attempting to murder multiple others. They finally had their guy. The suspect, however, said otherwise. According to him, they had got it all wrong. Courtney Melvin denied any involvement in the incident, insisting that he wasn't even home on the night Timothy died. He was at work, not arriving home until after 11 p.m. He didn't hand out a single piece of candy to anybody. The only people in his home on Halloween night were his wife and daughter, neither of whom had the hairy man's arm the police were now leaning on as evidence. This did not come as a surprise to the detectives. Denial is a typical response to being accused of a crime as extreme as murder. Could he be covering something up, or did they have the wrong person? The first step was to check out his alibi. The suspect's wife and daughter corroborated his story. The two of them had been home all night, but had turned the lights out and went to bed early after running out of candy for the trick-or-treaters. Neither of them apparently had any recollection of handing out pixie sticks, and none were found in their home. Of course, that didn't mean Mr. Melvin was innocent. He could easily have dumped any remaining sticks and orchestrated this whole cover story with his family, who were agreeing to play along for whatever reason. Their next stop would be the airport, where they had publicly arrested him in front of his colleagues. Detectives interviewed over 200 of the suspect's co-workers, with every single one testifying that he had been at work the whole night.
So it wasn't this guy then? Because if he has all his coworkers, I doubt the whole staff would sit there and lie about something like this. But if they had the whole staff saying that he was at work that whole time, then yeah, he has a solid alibi. The BTK killer in Kansas was married with kids and was a boy scout leader. Oh yeah. Again, sick people. Sick world. Thank you, truck.
His timesheets further validated this narrative. With that, all suspicions of this man vanished. He physically could not have handed out poisoned candy in the neighborhood. The detectives had to accept that their one and only suspect was a totally innocent man, for now, and one they had publicly humiliated. It seemed to them that they were right back to square one, asking the same questions. Who in the neighborhood could be poisoning these children? And why? It had been days since Timothy's death. His family had buried him. The community had grieved, but investigators were no closer to understanding who could have done this. They had nothing else to go on but Ronald's recollection of the incident. They had already gone door to door, asking neighbors if they had received or given out any pixie sticks.
Unless, okay, if I remember correctly, the father and the two kids were with a friend and their kids. What if it was the friend that gave them the pixie sticks?
Not a single house said yes. If they were telling the truth, how did 5 of them get into the hands of Ronald? Unless, what if Ronald had the pixie sticks on him the entire time?
Damn it! I was saying that was probably the father.
Investigators had been suspicious about parts of his story.
The longer wait the kids did after getting the pixie, the candy, the hairy man could be the murderer. Where are the mother and daughter at? Home. Yeah, they said that they were asleep. The door didn't open for a long time. But yeah. I think I know where this is going. The father had the candy, and he was the one that gave it to them, probably in front of that house, is what it's starting to sound like. But if my suspicions are correct, I feel like this was probably... Damn it, I wish I could remember. Trick or Treat! I think that was the name of the movie. The movie Trick or Treat, where they had a character who was a father giving out poison candy. I think this might be done around that. Who did it? I think it's the dad. I think this is the dad.
But they didn't consider him as a suspect. He had a lot of goodwill in the neighborhood. His generosity and kindness were well known. It was
Just
simply
because you're
unthinkable
good doesn't
that
mean you
this
can't be
man
evil
could do
on the
something
outside,
as evil as this,
inside.
especially to his own children. But his unusual memory gaps and inconsistencies were concerning, and the lack of any other witnesses or evidence made investigators feel as if there was no other better target for their focus. A background check revealed that Timothy's father was not, in fact, the stable family man he presented himself as. He had spent the last decade struggling to hold a job for longer than a year, jumping between 21...
Life insurance. He had life insurance on his kids. I bet you that could be it.
Different workplaces. And unfortunately, his latest gig at Texas State Optical was heading in the same direction. Apparently, he was about to be fired from the role due to suspected theft. That detail led to the next question. What would compel a devoted churchgoer to steal from his workplace? His financial records exposed him as a chronic overspender, living well outside of his means. And now he was having to face the consequences. His car was about to be repossessed. He had defaulted on several bank loans, and the family
Could see
home
that,
was
yeah.
under foreclosure.
Uh-oh.
His lifestyle had ballooned his debts to over $100,000.
Damn.
In 2025 money, that's over $640.
Fuck! Someone get the financial dude. What the fuck, man? I'm guessing this guy's a chronic gambler or something. Sheesh.
$1,000. So there was a clear and credible motive for his workplace theft, but this wasn't an adequate motive to drive a father who was, albeit bad with money, but otherwise completely normal, to kill his own flesh and blood. At least, that's how it seemed at first. Investigators followed the money to January 1974, 10 months before Timothy's tragic death. His father had taken out $10,000 life insurance policy on both of his children. If the two of them died under unfortunate, tragic circumstances, he would legally be able to claim $20,000.
I knew it! It's always with the life insurance. It was the perfect crime because, yeah, easily, like, I don't know how easy is it to get cyanide. That's the question. We need you need to check whatever spending duty dues or something how he got that cyanide. If he has the cyanide, then of course he did it. If he bought stuff like that. Maybe cyanide's in, wait. Wasn't something at the beginning saying something about, rat traps? Saying something about rat poison? Huh. You know, to be honest, I feel like I might have heard this story before. I might have actually heard the story before, and I think it's just now kind of piecing together in my brain.
But that wouldn't be enough to cover his over $100,000 debt.
Yeah.
So, for perhaps this reason, 1 month before Timothy's death, Ronald took out an additional $20,000 policies on both children, despite documented objections from his insurance agency and Ronald's insistence that they not tell his wife, Deneen. But, of course, in the tragic
that's
event
not
of both of his
suspicious at
children's
all.
simultaneous deaths, $60,000 would still leave him with over $40,000 in debt. So in the days leading up to Halloween, Ronald had secured yet
Detective
another
Nesca.
$20,000 policy for each child. By Halloween, he had covered around $60,000 per child, $120,000 total, nearly $800,000 in today's dollars. Now, there was a clear, obvious motive for the detectives. If both of his children died, Ronald could pay off his debt and still come home with $20,000, over $130,000 today in profit.
And then he could use the $20,000 to go gambling some more. Yeah, I don't care so much about the kids I conceived. I only care about my money problems. Doop doop doo.
Of course, all of this was speculative. It was simply a plausible motive. They needed evidence.
Let's go gambling.
On the morning after Timothy's death, while his body still lay in the morgue, his father had called the insurance company to inquire about collecting the policies. That didn't confirm guilt, but it did show that the supposedly grieving father's first concern was money. But he could have simply needed the money as soon as possible to be able to make funeral arrangements. However, this was enough to secure a search warrant. On November 5th, 1974, 5 days after Timothy's death, officers arrived at the family home. They searched the entire place from top to bottom. The first item of interest detectives discovered was Ronald's pocket knife, which had traces of plastic and powdered candy still stuck to the blade.
Oh, got him. Got him already. Why you got plastic? Why you got plastic and Shuggy on your knife? What you cutting with Shuggy and knife?
Was this perhaps evidence that he had cut open the pixie sticks to add the poison? Or was it just used to open the pixie stick for his son when he couldn't do it himself? Regardless, police felt this was enough for Ronald to be arrested and taken in for questioning right away. The community was stunned. This was now the second local man portrayed as an unthinkably evil monster. And not only was he one of the most beloved members of the community, the boy he may have killed was his own son. It was simply unbelievable. The case had become national headline news, with people all across America tuning in to learn more about the despicable man who had supposedly murdered his own son as part of an insurance fraud scheme. The media dubbed Ronald the Candyman, and crafted the narrative of a man who conned an entire community. He was never
He just wanted that money. He didn't care about his own children. Which goes to say, though, why did he give the pixie stick to the random church kid, too? What did he have to gain by poisoning that random child? That's fucked up. I mean, I guess if he's already willing to kill his own flesh and blood for money, I guess he couldn't care less what he did with the other pixie stick. Probably, if the best solution, I think, is to have it be more covered. Yeah, covering his tracks. That way it'd be like, oh, other kids got these candies too, not just my kids. Because if it was just his kids that got that candy, no one else got that candy, it would look even more suspicious. That's why.
the generous, selfless man he painted himself as, but a money-hungry psychopath seeking a quick solution to his problems. This wasn't just another chapter in the old Halloween candy tampering legend. This was potentially one of the most heinous crimes imaginable, filicide. Ronald was indicted on 1 count of capital murder and 4 counts of attempted murder for the other children who had received poison pixie sticks but hadn't consumed them. He entered a plea of not guilty to all charges. But what was the truth? That would be up to the jury to decide. Ronald's trial began on May 5th, 1975, in Houston. One witness to take the stand was a Pasadena police officer who worked the case. He described Ronald as a wolf in sheep's clothing. He was
Yep. You're sweet on the outside, but on the inside you are poison, toxic bitch. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this took place in Texas? Is there any other Houstons out there? I'm not sure, but when I hear Houston, my brain goes straight to Texas, because that's my home. That's my birthplace.
hiding behind religion and giving the impression that he was a pillar of the community. It was all a sham, all a lie. His in-laws recalled the emotional day of the burial, how everyone in attendance was devastated by the loss of young Timothy. Everyone except his own father.
Oh!
Ronald spent the entire day talking about using the insurance money to take an extended vacation and buy other luxury items.
The fuck? Oh, well, you already blew your cover right there, dumbass. Oh, everyone's sad. His son is dead. Me? Oh, I'm gonna have myself a nice vacation thanks to my dead son.
That was something that his co-workers had also noticed. Continued bragging about how his poor financial situation was about to improve. Ronald's
smart
friend, Jim
man
Bates,
there.
who went trick-or-treating that night with Timothy and his family, also found the burial deeply disturbing. He was not upset. He was not despondent at all. When the girl started playing on the organ, he walked right beside that open casket with his kid in it. He didn't pause. He didn't look. He didn't stop.
Monster.
He walked right by. Right then, my brain clicked. I could feel it. I felt it.
Of course he walked right by. He didn't care because he was the one who killed his son. He didn't care at all about his own child. God, this is a good definition of, I want to say, greed. Because all he cared about was the money. He didn't care that he murdered his own flesh and blood for it.
Incredibly suspicious. A chemist told the court that 2 months before the murder, he was contacted by Ronald, asking about cyanide and how much would be required to kill a human being.
There it
the chemist
is.
found the questions odd, but answered them, not realizing he was providing information for a potential murder plot. Another witness, who worked as a chemical supply salesman, recalled that Ronald had approached him with similar questions, only this time he was showing an interest in actually purchasing cyanide. By October 1974, records showed that he had physically visited a chemical supply store in Houston, asking to buy the smallest possible amount of cyanide.
That's exactly what I was talking about earlier. Find out this guy's receipts. And yep, he bought cyanide. There's no reason to buy cyanide. I don't know what kind of sciencey stuff you could do with cyanide, but I don't feel like there's much of a reason to buy cyanide.
But when he discovered the minimum purchase was £5, he left empty-handed. Police were never able to determine if he had actually bought cyanide from another vendor. The source of the poison
The fact that he
remained
was
unknown.
looking, though.
The prosecution methodically destroyed his story piece by piece. But then came the moment that sealed his fate. his wife, Deneen, testified for the prosecution.
Hey!
She admitted that she knew about the initial $10,000 policies her husband had taken out on her children. In fact, she had objected to them, but he had overruled her, insisting that it was the thing to do. However, she had no idea about the further insurance policies he had taken out on the children.
Fuck. God, how heartbreaking does that have to be? Your husband, who you love and you had these children with, cares nothing about your kids and is a monster. Just all he cared about was getting money. It makes me wonder if he would have killed her too. Shit.
After her initial objection, he had seemingly gone out of his way to avoid her ever finding out. In a devastating blow to his defense, she contradicted his account of that Halloween night in almost every single way. According to her, Timothy hadn't chosen the pixie stick from his candy collection at all.
He gave it to
Instead,
him.
His father had pushed him to try the pixie stick. Essentially,
Yeah. No. What kid? When you're giving a child the option to have some Halloween candy, what kid goes after fucking powdered sugar? Oh, he probably would have. But it was easier to kill the children than it would have been to kill his own wife, I'm guessing.
forcing the boy to consume the poison that would kill him. By this point, nobody had a single doubt regarding his guilt. Ronald had killed his own son. His defense, as per his original plan, relied on America's persistent fear of deadly tampered treats. This pre-existing archetype, along with the goodwill he had established with the community, would allow the blame for his children's murder to quickly fall on
Pixie
some...
sticks are like the last snack to eat, not the first. I know, right? No, I don't feel like any kid's favorite candy would be like, ooh, I just want pure sugar in a stick.
Random, hypothetical madman, allowing Ronald to collect the insurance money while keeping him free of accusation. His plan also hinged on the killing of multiple children to maintain the illusion. In his mind, if nobody but his children died, it would look too targeted, too specific. But a group of unrelated children dying from the same candy would provide enough evidence of the so-called candy poisoner that nobody would suspect him. And
Yeah. Good plans here. Too bad you didn't continue wearing your mask, but hey, this is what happens when you're a monster. You tend to slip up.
Elesialin is now following.
Thank you for the follow. Welcome. Hi.
terrifyingly, he might have gotten away with it too, if it wasn't for his carelessness and greed. The legends that Ronald had hoped would provide cover instead highlighted the calculated nature of his crime. Despite those two stories about the dentist giving out candy-coated laxatives and the housewife who handed out ant baits, no documented cases of Halloween poisonings proved true.
Yeah, that is dumb. Hand out ant baits. But it was less of a that one was less of a poison and more of just kind of being a dick. Your chit is softer titty. Yeah. Well, don't expect me to try to say it. I will butcher it so bad. I am the sorry.
Archaeologists like Joel Best have done extensive research into the urban legends and had never found any actual major incidents. In fact, almost all of the claims that have existed since the Industrial Revolution have been proven to be hoaxes and pranks, feeding on paranoia and social tensions, while only a select few led to injuries and may have been done by family members and in many cases the children themselves to garner attention. The only verified case of a madman killing children with Halloween candy was sitting in the defendant's chair, claiming innocence.
And he wouldn't have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling kids and that dog. Actually, he would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for his own hubris.
I think it's the word I wanted to use. You little poof, stupid. Aw, sorry you got in the Addy place.
The jury's deliberation was swift and decisive. On June 3rd,
that
1975, after only 46 minutes of discussion, they returned a guilty verdict on all counts. One count of capital murder and 4 counts of attempted murder. The sentencing phase took 71 minutes longer, The
What'd he
same
get?
jury that had quickly convicted Ronald sentenced him to death by electrocution.
Oh! If this is, I believe this is Texas. They don't fucking play around with tech in Texas. Woot! I'm just gonna assume this is Texas because I remember hearing the word Houston at some point, so I'm just gonna say. I could be wrong, don't quote me on that, but I'm feeling like it's Texas. Electric chair. You poisoned your son, you're gonna get the zaps. You're gonna get kayaed to the extreme. I have some spine-tingling puns myself. Bring back the electric chair, woot.
In Texas in 1975,
I was right, it is Texas.
that meant a date with Old Sparky, the electric chair at the Huntsville Youth.
Texas.
As the verdict was read, Ronald showed no emotion. Shortly after his conviction, his wife filed for divorce, officially severing all.
I mean, okay, to be fair, she didn't need to file for a divorce. Your marriage would have been null and void and broken as soon as he died. But I guess she didn't want to be a widow to that asshole, killing their own son. Same stars are doing away with the death. Yeah, some states are doing away with the death penalty. Mine in Express Lane. Yeah, Old Sparky. I hope Texas stays pure. Game over. Boop.
all ties with the man who had murdered their son. Ronald was immediately transferred to the Ellis 1 unit near Huntsville, Texas, where he joined many other condemned men on death row. According to the then chaplain for the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, Ronald was shunned and despised by his fellow death row inmates for killing.
Yep, that's the way it be. Okay, I think I might have mentioned this once before. My dad, he spent a year in prison for BS reasons, and he learned the ways of the prison. If you are any kind of child predator or child murderer in this case, you are blacklisted in prison. People will want to hurt you. No. So if you go to prison for anything that involves kids, you are in for a world of hell. But lately, we've been talking about building a wall around Austin and needing to make California pay for it. A peef.
His child and was absolutely friendless. The
Yeah.
inmates reportedly petitioned prison officials to hold an organized demonstration on his execution date for no other reason than for them to express their hatred
Yes.
of him. Ronald
PDF files into people that don't deserve rights. Yeah, exactly. But yeah. I was saying my dad went to prison for basically BS reasons. It was a criminal threat charge is what he had, and it was only a year.
Ronald's execution was scheduled and postponed multiple times as his lawyers filed appeal after appeal. His first execution date was set for August 8, 1980, but was put on hold. A second date of May 25th, 1982 was also postponed due to constitutional violation concerns.
Boo!
Cruel
Pussy!
irony, one judge scheduled a third execution date for Halloween 1982.
That would be
exactly
ironic.
8 years after Timothy's murder. And even
Oh, super ironic. He was 8, and on Halloween, I'm so sorry. Oh, it'll be that's a dump charge. Yeah. The whole situation was just really scummy. The apartment complex he was working for, he was trying to get help for stuff, and just out of nowhere they decided to blatantly fire him. And my dad was in a bad mindset at the time, and the words he used, if I remember correctly, were, "I'm gonna get my guns." That wasn't necessarily directed at wanting to attack the fucking he was just in a bad mindset because he got fired for no good reason. If anything, I bet if he had the time, he probably would have killed himself.
Lakshana
Bang.
Crow subscribed to the channel.
Thank you for subscribing. Welcome, welcome.
But yeah, it was just a really rough period in my life. Let's see, I became homeless and had to live with a friend's mother's place. I spent like a good, I think, 11 months at a friend's mother's place. And it was also during a time where my relationship with my ex was getting rocky. So, yeah, it was very... Neska lived with her parents for a good long time. Big moose. Makeup, he-doos, afraid again. Yeah! You two, please send this. I gotcha.
Been offered to drive Ronald to the death chamber personally to ensure
Yeah!
that justice was served. However, the Supreme Court also delayed this execution.
Pussies!
Ronald a chance to pursue an appeal seeking a new trial. Though
Boo!
that also failed.
No! If you're heartless enough to kill your own child, I don't think there's any kind of redemption for you. He didn't even care. He did not show any remorse. Nah, he deserves this.
Finally, a fourth date was set, March 31st, 1984. Ronald's lawyers made one last desperate attempt. Since lethal injection had recently been adopted in Texas, they argued that since he was sentenced to death by electric chair, the change constituted cruel and unusual punishment. However, lethal injection was...
Of course, to be fair, I remember watching The Green Mile and the one guy where they didn't wet his sponge and how he died so slowly in that. Oh, man. That was brutal. That was brutal, though.
I'm helping a friend right now. I am from being homeless. He lives in my basement, but he at least has a bed and his own space. Yeah. We're doing that for my mother now. Ever since my dad died, she and him were living together as roommates at an apartment complex, and she lost her apartment because, well, reasons and junk, so the irony there. So that's why my mom lives with us, me and Trucker Man.
seen as more humane and less prone to failures like with the electric chair. On March 28th, a federal judge denied the final stay of execution.
Boo!
On March 31st, 1984, shortly after midnight, he was brought in to be executed by lethal injection at the
Yay!
Huntsville unit. He would be one of the first inmates executed in Texas using this method. Ronald's final statement consisted of nothing but self-pity and denial. With his dying breath, he maintained his innocence. He never confessed to murdering Timothy or attempting to kill the other children. He was pronounced dead at 12:48 a.m. Outside
Good. Okay, the electric chair would have been more fun, but at the same time, I felt like it was kind of poetic justice that he got the injection since he poisoned his child. And now he is poisoned. Perfect karma right there.
the prison, a crowd of nearly 300 demonstrators had gathered. Supporters of the death penalty cheered when
Candyman.
witnesses emerged from the execution chamber. Some yelled "trick or treat," while others showered anti-death penalty protesters with candy in a macabre left.
Okay, that's funny. Anti-death penalty protesters, and they threw candy at him. That's what we can do to the ICE protesters, except that might hurt more than candy. Throw ice at them. Okay, that was almost a good idea, but I don't want to hurt anyone. But yeah, throw ice at them. Okay, snow. Snow is close. Yeah, throw snowballs at them. Protest ice. You get ice. We throw snow at you. There you go.
Reference to Ronald's crime. The symbolism was unmistakable. The Candyman had finally paid for his Halloween horror.
Yeah.
In the weeks before his death, Timothy's mother visited her ex-husband in prison, listening to him crying and insisting he was innocent. But she never believed him, successfully obtaining her divorce and later remarrying. Her new husband adopted Timothy's sister, giving her a fresh start and a new identity far from the horrors of what her biological father did. The insurance money, what Timothy's mother called blood money, was never claimed. But the ripples of Ronald's actions unfortunately can be felt far beyond his own family's trauma and loss. His crime fundamentally changed Halloween in America forever, kickstarting modern Halloween candy inspection rituals. He made the legends and myths into a bleak reality. After Timothy's death, parents began methodically checking their children's Halloween hauls, looking
I don't feel like I felt like that kind of like, obviously the rumors and stuff still persist, but I think the whole checking candy thing started like dying out on its own too. But I think ever since after the whole COVID stuff, trick-or-treating has just really just started just disappearing. Like parents don't want to let their kids go door to door anymore, and now it's just like, oh, we'll just do something at our local church or school instead when it comes to that. So I feel like the old tradition of going door to door trick-or-treating is probably slowly dying around America, more or less, give or take. Unless it's like a really tight-knit community, then it's probably fine, but yeah.
for unmarked candy, signs of tampering, or anything else suspicious. Hospitals
COVID
offered
really,
free X-ray
didn't
services
move
for
the
Halloween
number of
hauls.
people
Police
really-
stations set up
yeah.
collection points for suspicious treats. Communities began organizing safe Halloween events in controlled environments like church halls and community centers.
Yeah.
The spontaneous and carefree joy of trick-or-treating is now becoming more and more structured, contained, and overly cautious. The stories have continued in the decades after Ronald. Some unfortunate deaths were misattributed to Halloween candy, and there were no real recorded cases of candy tampering, except for one.
shop is
In
gone.
2000,
Oh, I'm sorry.
49-year-old James Joseph Smith had inserted needles into Snicker bars and handed them out for Halloween.
Okay, that would be an... Oh, ow! Okay, yeah, that would be something that wouldn't be noticeable. Ooh.
Kind of hard to do when there's a bunch of crazy people these days.
Yeah, there's no safety anymore in the world. Everything's getting worse and worse.
One child was pricked by the needle when he bit into it. After he was
Ow.
arrested, James was deemed too mentally ill to go to trial. Thankfully, his
Ow.
actions didn't lead to death or permanent injury. With this being the only Halloween candy tampering incident since Timothy's death over 50 years ago, it seems as though the paranoia over tainted trick-or-treat bags is unwarranted. Yet today, the Candyman's shadow still looms over parents like the boogeyman of Halloween. Candy
Yeah.
inspections continue, and some families limit their children to only knocking on houses of people they know personally, all to prevent their loved ones meeting the next Candyman. But we'd like to hear from you. As a trick-or-treater, parent, or one of the kind neighbors handing out candy, what is your experience? Is Halloween
Yeah, I feel like Halloween's pretty much the dead now.
Well, that was this video. Thank you to my community, my chat who chose this video for me to react to. I don't remember who it was. I know Sheepy, I know Loco, you two gave me videos. I don't know if this was one of yours or not, but thank you for joining me for this video. Bye.
alive and well, or is it an undead version of what it used to be? The almighty
undead
YouTube
version.
algorithm is very unforgiving, and the only way we can afford to keep making videos is because our awesome viewers tell the algorithm that our video is worth watching.
Yeah, go join. Go check out this guy. He does a lot of fun videos. And he has a really nice voice. Thank you all for joining me. Please like, subscribe, and comment. It would make me very happy. Kiss, kiss.